Hello and welcome to our Lifetime Expectancy of Power Supply webinar. My name is Thomas Siffling and I'm the presenter today. Here are the topics for today.
Sorry, Thomas, to interrupt you, but we cannot see the presentation yet.
Okay. We try to fix the problem.
Just need to share it as a application. Yes.
Okay.
Just a second. It's loading. Yes, now it's okay.
So I start again. Okay.
Okay.
So, hello and welcome to our Lifetime Expectancy of Power Supply webinar. My name is Thomas Siffling and I'm the presenter today. So, here are the topics. How can the lifetime of a standard power supply really be determined? The published specification of the manufacturer contains some helpful information, but lifetime is not just a specified value on the data sheet and it's not graded to warranty. In addition to the warranty period, the majority of manufacturers also provide an MTBF figure. Also, the MTBF, which means mean time between failure, provides a figure in terms of hours. This cannot be graded to the real lifetime of a product. What does MTBF figure state? Half and half are test procedures with the aim of providing a life expectancy forecast based on overstress tests. Which components have the main influence of the lifetime expectancy, and how should these components be treated to enable maximum lifetime? The temperature is a key for a long life expectancy. How are the temperature and life expectancy linked? What information should be available from the manufacturer to the estimate lifetime? And what should you consider in your design to achieve maximum lifetime? The published specification on manufacturer does not provide any concrete figure concerning the lifetime expectancy of the device. There are too many external factors involved here. Of course, the given warranty provides initial reference points. The longer the warranty, the longer the device can be accepted to last. However, what is the meaning behind information like 10 years ECAP lifetime or MTBF value in hours? Let's start with MTBF. MTBF stands for mean time between failure and is defined as the expected operating time between two successive failures. These terms concern devices that are put back into operation or following a defect by means of maintenance or repair. Today, built-in power supplies with an output of up some 100 watts are nearly always completely replaced, as a repair is often not cost effective. Therefore, it would be correct to refer MTTF when speaking about standard power supplies. MTTF stands for mean time to failure, which is the average operating time until the failure. However, it's common to speak in terms of MTBF for all observations. Without further details, MTBF cannot compare. It exists several different calculation methods. For example, MIL HDBK 217F, mainly in industrial applications. Belcore, Concordia, typical for telecom applications. Siemens standards, especially here in Germany, and JEDA RCR, especially in Japan. For identical factors, the calculation result could easily differ by 10 or 50 times just based on the standards. As a consequence, the pure MTBF information on the data sheet from the various manufacturers cannot compare directly without any background information regarding the basis of calculation. The calculation is broadly based and allows some tricks to keep the result high. For instance, it is possible to simply exclude components particularly susceptible for aging, such as fans, from the calculation completely. Here we only touch the basic principle of MTBF calculation. Every method is based on the same scheme, a so-called part count method. To begin with, each component is assigned on an individual failure rate, which usually originates from the manufacturer's data sheet. The failure rate of electronic components is usually stated as FIT, failure in time. The failures are usually stated in 10 to the power of 9 hours. Mir's HCBK 217S works with the term FPMH, failure per million hours. This means that the conversion by a factor of 1,000 is required here. The MTBF figure is then determined as reciprocal value from the addition of all failure rates. The stress that each component is subject to within the device does not play any role with regarding to this observation. However, load, temperature and other environment influences have significant impact on the lifetime expectancy of the device. Let's take a different point of view to the MTBF figure, ranging from hundreds to thousands of million hours. 1 year consists of 365 days, everybody knows. These are only 8,760 hours. Have you ever recognized this? Once you become aware of this amount, it becomes apparent that MTBF figures amounting to thousands or millions of hours cannot in any way represent the real lifetime expectancy of a device. This is a very simple but important example to show this what expanding and the high figures and high numbers are meaning. An example here. Computer hard drives are usually given MTBF value greater than 1 million hours. That would be more than 100 years. Nobody would seriously believe that the hard drive in this computer would last anywhere near as long as that. Consequently, the MTBF figure, the accepted operating time, cannot equate to the lifetime expectancy. Now we come to health and health. True failures. Statistically, data based on service returns are a reliable source when determining the life expectancy of the device. The problem is that the statistical data often only becomes meaningful over the course of time, often after several years. However, the lifetime expectancy of the power supply should be seen as a decision-making criteria already in the design phase of an application. But at this point in time, there are generally unusable long-term experiences available from the field. Therefore, a so-called halt process is used during development in order to virtually take a look into the future. In addition to halt abbreviation, the term HAS is also often used. HALT is a highly accelerated lifetime testing. Of course, the development of a high accelerated lifetime test named HALT is often applied in order to determine aging in the power supply unit. Here with some prototypes of the device are tested in out-of-spec conditions for certain time, increased operating temperatures and mechanical stress, in order to find out the weak point of the design. The knowledge gained about the condition of parts and components after these tests were used in a calculation for lifetime forecast. Using these results are a basis of probability and failure forecast under normal conditions is not without controversy. Normally, the effects of a brief overload cannot be weighted to a longer aging process. Highly accelerated stress screening, called HASS, is a similar process that is implemented at a later stage of ongoing volume production. The aim of these tests is to detect potential production errors to prevent early failures with the end user. In contrast to health, these tests must be designed in such a manner that no components can be damaged in doing so. For a developer of standard power supplies, parts always demonstrate the same components are most responsible for the lifetime expectancy. Therefore, the focus should be placed on fan, relay, and most important, the electronic capacitor. So, relay. Each relay has a defined number of switching cycles before the function reliability gets lost. This depends on the switching cycles per unit of time. Few switching cycles per year or a repeating operation per minute. Fans used in most switch mode power supplies with 300 watts output power and a bus. The fan ensures the reliable cooling of the power supply unit and initially has a positive effect of the lifetime expectancy. However, the fan is also a mechanical part. The aging of the fan depends on its operating time and temperature. There is a wide range of fans with a lifetime expectancy of approximately 30,000 to up to 100,000 hours. These are approximately 3 to 11 years in continuous operation. During the design of the power supply, fans generally already seen as a potential wear part. Generally speaking, the mechanical design of the housing allows the fan to be easily replaced without the need for special interventions in the device. The aging of the electrolytic capacitor is most depending on their operating conditions. The temperature-related aging of each cap is highest compared to all other components. Consequently, the electrolytic capacitors are generally the element determines the lifetime in each power supply unit. Something all components have in common is that the lifetime depends upon the operating temperature. The faster a component is heated, the higher the risk of failure and the faster it ages. The temperature is a key for a long life expectancy of each device. An example with 105-degree electrolytic capacitors with a life expectancy of between 5,000 up to 10,000 hours are generally used in industrial sector. The life expectancy of electrolytic capacitors is started together with the specified maximum temperature. 5,000 to 10,000 hours. This means that the life expectancy of an electrolytic capacitor with a temperature of 105 degrees only amounts to 1 year, a value that is far below any acceptable operating time of an end device. However, every 10 degree Kelvin drop in temperature doubles the life expectancy of the ECAP. What must the manufacturer of the power supply offer? Not to enforce the component specification. The temperature profile of all components should be given plenty of attention during development. The electrolytic capacitors in particular should be carefully dimensioned and positioned within the power supply. The design must ensure reliable cooling of all critical components. The design goal to achieve higher power density and most compact formats should not have too much impact to the reliability. TDK Lambda has a temperature profile information in its reliability data. Here, a component derating list is added. The table describes a margin between nominal operation values and the specification of each component. This overview presents a percentage of load in each component in relation to its specification. The main components temperature rise list then follows. It's an overview for the heating of the component under nominal load. The curves of the electrolytic capacitor lifetimes in the power supply unit finally follow. So, if the manufacturer has done homework, the end customer must also pursue an approach during this design. What should each developer consider in terms of operating conditions of the power supply? The temperature at which the power supply unit is operated within the end device is once again a main subject at this point. Which cooling concept is the most ideal for the application? There are 4 different concepts. First, devices that require convection, here using the example of an in-rail mounting device. Second, devices that require an airflow, e.g. it's a U-chassis. Third, devices for contact cooling. And at last, devices with integrated phase. So what is the really effective way of cooling of a power supply in terms of the specified requirements? To find the best place for the power supply in the end device. The most suitable place would be an area with the best heat dissipation and air circulation. What is the temperature difference between ambient and inside? The more tight the housing, the more important the cooling concept. Here an example with housing complete closed and with sufficient cooling slots. What impact does the installation location have on the temperature? Where will an end user install the device? Clear definitions for the end user in the manual are essential here. Do seasonal influences play a role? Are the operating conditions, as, for example, big variations in the ambient temperature, are considered sufficiently? The temperature is the all-important parameter in terms of the life expectancy of the power supply and must be given plenty of attention during the design. Prepare and verify a cooling concept, ideally position the power supply unit in the end device, design the housing in such a manner that the heat can be reliably dissipated, and define ambient conditions for end user in the manual. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Thomas, for your presentation. So please feel free, if you have any questions regarding the topic, to write your question to Q&A window. Of course, if there is any further question also after this webinar, feel free to contact us, and we will forward all your questions directly to Thomas to answer it. So please feel free to ask. Okay, just a second. Okay, so one of the questions is, which cooling system has the highest efficiency? Thomas, can you hear me?
Yes, I have understood the question. You cannot generally answer this question because it depends of parameters. I have told in these presentations like ambient temperature, like the installation in the end device. So these are factors which should be considered in the design. So you cannot say generally or prefer a special cooling system for the best. It's okay?
Okay, thank you. So next question is, how dangerous are overheated devices?
Oh, this is a good question. Of course, the first is, of course, it's dangerous for the hot surface of the power supply, which you can burn your fingers. Of course, normally a good power supply make a shutdown before it overheats. This is one of the security or safety measures we have installed in the power supply. So this should affect who should not appear.
Okay, thank you. The next question is it possible to generally compare MTBF values from various calculation standards by means of vectors?
Of course not, because the MTBF values are, or the calculation for the MTBF values are made different standards. We have talked in this presentation, and of course it's not possible to compare the MTBF values from the standards within MTBF, for example from Telcor or from Siemens, because the calculation and the kind of calculation is performed in a totally different way.
Okay, thank you. So please, if there is any further question, feel free to answer. Is there any further question? I will also remind you that whole this webinar is recorded, and you can find the record from this webinar at our web pages next week. There is no more question, Thomas, so far. So if there is any, as I mentioned, please feel free to write an email with your question, and we will forward to Thomas, and he will answer it. So now I would really like to thank you, Thomas, for your time and for your presentation, and also I would like to thank you, all of you, to participate at this webinar, and I would like to wish you a nice day. Thank you.
What a pleasure too.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.